Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast. Steve, Ramona.
Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am more than thrilled. I am fired up. I've been talking to my guests for about 5-10 minutes. You guys have an expert in so many parts of life and business that you're going to learn from. And that's why we developed this podcast, to explore the idea of a purpose for work and life. What's that purpose? Serving, being a servant's heart, the impact and difference you can make. And our guest, like my guest today, is going to motivate you, inspire you, educate you how to take that purpose and how to grow with it, but also help other people grow. Here's your call to action, audience, today. Here's your homework. I want you to think about how you're going to serve yourself and serve others today and what impact you create today. Keyword is today. Listen to this awesome show and start serving people. Small, medium, large, doesn't matter what that service is, but just start giving. And I want to thank our incredible sponsor, Pantheon Alliance. Join a community of high-income entrepreneurs and business leaders to create this world-changing thought leader platform to make that same impact, to grow and really be part of a community that's going to really help others. With more information on that, just reach out to me and I'll get you all that information. With that being said, I love my military guys, man. I didn't get involved in the military. My dad and my brother did. So I kind of lived through them and I've learned so many lessons. Please, please, please grab a piece of paper and a pen because you're going to want to take notes for this podcast. So let's welcome to the show, Carl. Welcome.
See you, Steve. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you for your service. He's had many years of service. I really appreciate that. Not serving myself. So I appreciate you doing that for us in the world, in the country. What does a servant leader mean to you?
Servant leader is, I'll use the example of the Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps, there's a tradition that when you go to eat or you go to the field, you make sure that your people get served first. If you go into battle, you make sure they get the bullets first. Because if you serve them and you take care of them, they will take care of you. That's what servant leadership is.
How does that translate to our civilian business life?
In the business life, I'll give another example. Let's say I'm a supervisor in a manufacturing plant. And the first scenario is I'm a bad boss, right? So I give a direct order to this quality person on the line. The quality person knows when I give that instruction that something bad is going to go out. And then when it comes back, they're going to say, Carl made me do that. Second scenario, I'm a good boss. I take care of my people. I know who their families are. I give the same order, but probably a little bit nicer. That person will do one or two things. They'll say, Carl, you probably don't want to do that. Or even if it comes back, they will say, it's our problem, not my problem. That's what happens when you serve people and they serve you.
That's so well said, Carl. Really appreciate that. And we talked about a little bit before the show, but I want to say this audience, why I'm so excited about this. He was in the military. He also was an athlete, a collegiate football athlete. Those are two industries that teach leadership, I think, and this is my opinion, better than anything. What have you learned from those experiences in sports and military to help you teach leadership?
Well, I think the number one principle is it's all about relationships. In the military, it's a breakdown process. Every branch has a breakdown process. Some more break down than others. But once you break down and you get to a position where you have to depend on each other, then that causes a relationship where you win together, you lose together. Okay, so that process is in the military as well as in sports. It's kind of the same thing. Recently, we just had our first 12-team playoff. And when I listened to the coaches talk about their teams after they won, common theme was, we love these guys. I love them. I will do anything for them. That's what the winners were saying every time.
That's
It's all about relationships.
yeah, that's I'm a big college fan, as I told you. You're right. Every time, even the final game, Ohio State, that's what Ryan Day said. He kept saying, I'll fight for these. I don't know exactly what he said, but it was what I got from was I'll fight for him. I'm like, I want to play for that guy. So leadership in business is Steve Ramon is the CEO of a company. I want to work for that guy. I want to do whatever I can to make this company successful for them. Talk about that and how the CEO founder can really be a true leader.
One of the things that I think there's a misconception with is, I'll use military leaders as an example. There's a myth of people that haven't been in the military. The military leaders are just do what I say, not what I do, just do, right? But several high-ranking military people that I know, and I've talked to them and other people that have worked for them over time, they all said the same thing. General so-and-so, anytime I talked to him, I felt that I had his undivided attention, and I felt that he was always going to take care of me. So in cultures, which is so important, starts at the top. The leader determines what the culture is of that organization. If the culture of that organization is you take care of your people, then everybody will display that. If your culture is get the numbers, whatever you need to do, cheat, steal, whatever, I don't care, then that's the culture. And every organization has a culture.
Yeah, that's where leadership really is powerful. I love that you said that, because that is the misconception of military is I forget the phrase, but yeah, I stand on my head for an hour. That's what he said I'd do. You can talk to and communicate with your leaders to say, I don't think this will work. And I heard a quick story of a general that told his staff, I made a mistake that could have killed 1,000 soldiers, this military plan I put out. And he told his leaders, I'm like, if he's going to do that, then why can't I be the same thing and say, I made a mistake? Talk about mistake, because I think the military teaches great lessons with that.
Yeah, one of the things you learn in the military, at least I learned at the Naval Academy, is you learn at a very young age that you need to always tell the truth, even if it's bad. Because, example, I was a helicopter pilot, right? I trusted the crew chief to put the oil in there and make sure it was mechanically correct. If the crew chief pencil whipped the statistics and didn't fill up the oil, it could kill me and it could kill somebody else, right? Now, in all of the different leadership positions I've had, I have determined that it took me about 6 months to gain credibility in the organization, because my predecessors lied, cheat, steal, threw people under the bus. I say, trust me. They say, yeah, you're just like the last joker that told me you're going to do that, and it didn't happen. So that's why it's so important to be credible and do what you say you're going to do as a leader and tell the truth. And I was going to say something else that you mentioned too. When I do my join up process, when I was running organizations, something like that, first thing I would do is I would have a conversation with my people and my staff individually. And I'd say, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. You tell me a little bit about you. And then talk about that. The more transparent I am, the more transparent they are. And then I say, okay, so what do you think we could do to improve the organization? And then I say, okay, what are your expectations of me? I said, my expectations of you are you tell me the truth. And if you see me getting ready to do something that's going to hurt somebody in the organization or hurt the organization, I need you to tell me that as soon as possible.
You know what? I'm going to use a football vernacular that you're going to understand. You football people are going to understand. I want to run through a wall for you. You got me so fired up. Excuse me. Because this is what people need to hear. This is, and here's the cool thing. If they don't want to hear it, they're not part of your culture, then they go find another location to do that, which a servant leader does. I heard this phrase funny through my pastor, interesting phrase. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I believe it came from the Navy SEALs, right? That mantra. Talk about that, because I think leadership is part of slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yeah. it comes down, and you talked about the leaders of organizations or generals or whatever. It's important that they listen to their people,
Mm,
right? The other thing that I think is important, if you go into a new organization or get a new leadership role, the first thing I do is I do a lot of listening and a lot of asking questions, right? Because if I go in and start making changes without knowing what the culture is, who the key people are, then I'm not going to get all the information.
yeah.
I'm going to come in and ask a bunch of stupid questions. How y'all do that? Why do y'all do that? And then once I understand that, again, I'm picking off people at the same time where I'm doing my join up. These are my expectations of you, your expectations of me. And then at some point in time, and one of the other questions I ask him in this join up is, what do you think needs to be done to improve this organization? I'm going to incorporate that stuff. And I got, like you said, I got individuals in my organization that will run through a wall for me. All I have
Mhm.
to do is do one thing that they want me to do. It could be a personal thing where they might have a special needs child that they can't get care for or something like that. It could be personal. It doesn't make any difference. Just do one of those things and got a friend for life.
Yeah, what does it cost you? Some time and just making a phone call or an email, whatever the way you. Yeah, it's that's the cool thing about what you're doing, Carl. Anybody can do this, right? It's agnostic across the world. Um, you get me so fired up about all this. I want to jump into the books because we talked about them before the show. Talk about your two different books on sharp leadership, what the goals are with those.
Okay. The first book I wrote about 7 years ago, and I wanted to, okay, 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? So as I was going through that journey and some other journeys, I had some stuff in my head that I wanted to put on paper. So my daughter, who's currently, at the time she's probably 28, she says, "Dad, are you serious about writing your book?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "Are you committed to writing your book?" I said, "Yes." She said, "If you're committed to writing your book, I found a book coach and I'll pay for the services up through the manuscript." So that got me off the dime. So then I'm thinking, okay, so I want to take what's in my head, my experiences, download it, and put it in something that I can share with people. The concept was it's all stories about things that I've done. After each chapter, it asks questions. What did you learn? What are you going to do differently? So it's like a self-help book. And I had a 17-year Marine Corps veteran who got out of the Marine Corps with post-traumatic stress disorder, became a substance abuser, then he became homeless, now he runs a shelter for homeless veterans. He says the first book he ever read from cover to cover in his life. I've had pastors use it as a Bible study. I've had a 10-year-old read it, athletes, because it really changes people's lives. Talks about me integrating the school at the age in the 8th grade. Talks about my high school coach, third most influential person in my life. He's the one that sent the recruiter to my high school to recruit me to play football. Talks about working for 3 Fortune 500 companies. Talks about overcoming brain tumor, stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Um, and so that's all in that book. And the concept was the cover is I wanted to be scarlet and gold, which are the colors of the Marine Corps. Then I've got my aviation wings on it, and I've also got this sword, which is a Mameluke sword that Marine Corps officers get. That's my first book. My second book is called Sharp Leadership: Parenting Principles for Rearing Young People. It's all stories about my 36-year-old son and my 34-year-old daughter. It talks about how do you start with the end in mind so that if you know that when they get 18, you want them to have all the skills that they need to be able to manage their money, have a good work ethic, be able to make good decisions, be able to find good relationships. They need to have all that stuff by the time they get there. Then you do some things differently. You are not a helicopter parent because at 18, and even if you send your child to a quote unquote Christian school, there's still wolves in sheep's clothing everywhere. That's book
Yeah.
number one. Book number two, Sharp Leadership, Parenting Principle, for real young people. It talks about how you start with the end in mind. Yeah, so anyway, but that book talks about bullying, talks about social media. It talks about having healthy habits, eat right, sleep right, exercise right. My daughter wrote the foreword, which is pretty interesting to say the least. But they're both books that I've had I've had Teachers of the Year read my second book. Athletes read it, students read it, talks about extracurricular activities, how important they are to expose your kids to different things. Anyway, and somebody asked me on another podcast, they said, what are you most proud of? I said, I am most proud of the fact that I have 2 books. And when I'm gone, people will be able to read and get some knowledge and some wisdom from my experiences.
Carl, you haven't done enough in your life. You need a couple more obstacles and achievements. Holy moly. That's a hell of a life. And he's 45 years old. He's done all that. I'm kidding, of course, but he looks 45. I'd hire him right now. There's something I was doing in your background, and it's very interesting. How do you know when somebody's only working at 50% of their capacity? How do you know they're not giving it their all?
I think you know it because it's rare that you run into somebody that is, and what happens is, my experience has been, somebody asked me one time, what is it that's the biggest obstacle that you help people overcome when you're coaching them, right? I say 80% of the time, it's not the X's and the O's. It's not the strategic plan. It's not the processes, the engineering. It is work-life balance. Work-life balance. The thing that gets people off the rails is something personal. I was blessed to be able to go through a program called the Looking Glass Experience, which is at CCO, which is the Center for Creative Leadership in Greensboro, North Carolina, one of the top non-academic institutions. I went through there as a participant. It's a simulation, 1-day simulation of a business. 21 executives go in there. They break up into 3 different divisions, so 7, 7, 7. One person is watching this division of 7 people for the day, taking notes about how they impact the organization, how they impact each other, right? At the end of the day, you start debriefing. At the end of the week, you debrief with the person that was the facilitator. When I debriefed with the facilitator, I said, I want to become a trainer. I'd like to become a trainer. She says, really? He says, if you can come back 3 different times, train with a lead facilitator, I'll certify you. So part of my developmental plan was to do that. So I did probably 15 of those. So that's 15 times 21 executives. And when I asked them at the end of the session, what's the most important thing you need to work on to become a better leader? They would say work-life balance. They would say things like, I'm making a lot of money. I'm on my 3rd wife and she just filed for divorce. They say things like, I got 2 children. One doesn't know me and the other one's on drugs. They will say things like, I'm 60 pounds overweight and I just had my 3rd stent put in. That's what high-powered executives were saying. So the secret sauce is normally something outside of the work environment.
Yeah, and they're saying too that there's never a balance, that it's going up and down. Well, life's good, works, and try to work towards balancing it. Because I know some people, nothing against that, they teach, oh, you can have work-life balance. But you just said, I say all the time, I had a friend 2 years ago, multimillionaire, wife filed for divorce out of the blue. He doesn't know how, probably because he wasn't there. You probably can lead him. I probably should introduce you to him. But now that comes into his life, into his work. So when he comes to work, he's got to deal with a divorce at home. That doesn't affect your business, it affects your leadership, right? And how does it affect it?
Yeah, everything. The whole thing. And so with the work-life balance piece, the way I coach people on how to have work-life balance is, number one, you got to figure out what's the most important thing in your life. No matter what's going on, what's the most important thing? What's the second most important thing? What's the third most important thing? For me, God number 1, family number 2, friends number 3. No matter what's going on, that's the priority.
So you have them write that down, and that's their mission in their work-life balance, are these priorities, and they got to follow that as they're going through life.
Yeah, those are my priorities. They might have different ones. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's right. But you have
Yeah.
your clients write that down, or whatever, how you do it.
Right.
Okay, let's write those down. And I'm actually going to do this after the show. See, this is why I love hosting, because I get great guests like this that teach me so much. I'm 63. I probably learned more at 63 than I have at 23. That is for sure. So what are the common barriers to be not just a leader, but an effective leader? Because I think that's important.
The biggest barriers I think are self-inflicted. Lack of humility is probably the biggest one. Got to be humble. You got to realize that you're not the smartest person in the room. And even if you are, you want to get the information from other people. One of the chief African proverbs is this. So you have a chief leader that has a bunch of leaders of his people that's in a circle. And that leader is the last one to talk. Because if you talk first, there's going to be some people in the circle that are going to pile on and just say, they're not going to think about it. They're just going to do what you say. So as your leader, you make sure you get input from everybody else and you take all that. If they say something that you like, you say, oh, I like that. We're going to do that. That way you don't have a few things to say. You've got other people already bought into what you're trying to do. But I think being humble and doing a lot of listening is one of the biggest barriers.
Yeah, listening is huge. So that audience, make sure you write listen down. That's $1 million tip. He just made you $1 million. I'm not kidding either, because I'm listening, and I'm not going to talk about me, but because of my listening skills that you just said, he's worth every penny. Hire him today. You can be an effective leader. There's two categories here. So I'm an effective leader, but I also think you need to be a strong leader. What is the definition of really a strong leader?
Let's say when I think about strength in a leader, I think about somebody that leads by example. I think about somebody that does what they say they're going to do. And no matter what happens, they're going to do the right thing. That they're not going to always take care of their own behind. They're going to do the right thing for people, and you can tell whether or not somebody loves you or not, and is going to take care of you. And if somebody gets a sense that that you're not going to take care of them, then they're going to be very guarded. You're not going to get the truth. You only get half of their work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's, I need to give me a great answer. So we're coming to the end here, but I know with leadership is decision making, how vital that is, and all that stuff we've been talking about ties to decision. What's your advice on decision making when you're a leader?
I'll give you an example of something that I did, experience that I had. So I was the plant manager of a union facility in Topeka, Kansas, a subsidiary of Colgate-Palmolive. It was a union facility. First time I'd ever worked in a union facility. So I get the nod to be the plant manager, right? After about a week or two, maybe a month, my boss gives me some pretty high expectations of results that we're supposed to get. And I was raking my head over it. I couldn't figure out how to get it done. So what I did was I called shift meetings, first shift, second shift, third shift, all hands meetings. And I said, these are the goals that we need to perform. I need y'all's input on how to make that happen. We brainstormed that, put together a plan, got those results. We were the best performing plant in the system. We were the only union facility. We took a traditional union facility and turned it into a high performing work system where people could do multiple jobs. And we were the best performing plant in the system and the only union system of before.
It's a crazy, amazing story. And you've done so much in your life. I'm blown away. And I'm 63 years old, and I meet a lot of people, and you're the real deal. God bless you. And again, God bless you for your service. Let's do a fun question. I always have, we've been talking business and all the serious stuff. You like to laugh, and I love to laugh, but you like a little improv. So I've reserved a table at a restaurant for you, Carl. You've got 4 seats. One you'll obviously sit in. So you have 3 empty seats. Who would you invite, dead or alive? Why would you invite them? And what food would you order?
Let me see who I'd invite. I'd probably invite Nelson Mandela. I would invite my high school coach, Coach Sparks. Again, he was the third most influential person in my life. I can call him up today and say, hey, I have a kid that pretty good athlete, good character, wants to go to college. And he says, if the person is willing to travel, we can get him in a school right now. So Coach Sparks. What else? I'd say maybe Jimmy Carter. He's a Naval Academy graduate, and I knew a lot about him, but I learned a whole lot more at his funeral and things like that. And I'd heard a lot of stories about him, but I'd invite him. I'd probably invite my dad.
Beautiful.
I'd invite my dad. What would I eat? I'd probably have some type of surf and turf,
Ooh.
shrimp, crab, and prime rib, string beans or collard greens, mashed potatoes, dessert. What I have for dessert? Chocolate pecan pie for dessert.
Hey, Carl, you gotta get a sick chair for me because my wife got me into mustard greens. Yeah, you did. Yeah, mustard greens. Love them. Oh my God, it's baked. We won't go on and on that. You know what's interesting when I asked that question and you nailed it? All are leaders, even your dad, who was a father to you, all leaders. It's funny how it's not funny, it's the wrong word, but it's interesting how we go to that table to people that we really are excited to be with. Again, Carl, thank you so much for an incredible show. If you want to learn about leadership, listen to the show over and over again. But I know people are listening, Carl, and going, I got to connect with Carl. How can they connect with you?
You can go to my website, www.carlsharpersonjr.com. That's a way to get to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. And just send me my website. You can do an intake form and figure out how I can help you, and we connect with a lot of different ways. And I'd love to reach out to you, see how we can help each other.
You will definitely do it. You could tell this gentleman has a servant's heart, and he's a true gentleman. Real quick, the 2 names of the books and where they can find them.
Yeah, Sharp Leadership, Overcome Adversity to Lead with Authenticity. And you can find it on Amazon. And then the other one is Sharp Leadership, Parenting Principles for Rearing Young People. And you can find it on Amazon also. And if you want an autographed copy, reach out to me and we can make that happen.
Beautiful. Oh, man, look at that. You get an autograph. And autographs aren't about the value. It's about the personal invitation. And that's what I love. Thank you again, Carl. I'll have all the information in the show notes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to say it this way. I truly think these podcasts are a gift. When you send that link to somebody, and here's how. You're listening to Carl and you're going, man, my friend's got this company. He talks about leadership and culture. Well, share this link with them. Let them feel the passion of Carl, what he's doing, how he's doing it, what he thinks, all his extensive background. They go and listen, and maybe they hire Carl, or maybe they reach out to Carl and he gives them a tip and you change their lives. Would you want to do that as much as you can? That's why I think if it's not my podcast, any other podcast Carl or anybody else has been on, these are truly gifts. Treat them that way because now you can make that impact I talked about at the beginning. With that being said, me and Carl want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll see you all on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.